Come on, sing.
Okay. Are we ready to get started?
YouTube's up and running, and I just sent the thingy to Facebook. So
okay. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the Taste of OLLI, OLLI at WVU's virtual open house for the fall term. I will ask you to please put yourself on mute so that if there's sounds in the background, etc. If you do have a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. But otherwise, we are going to ask you to stay muted. And I will call on, we do have some instructors with us today. And when I call your name, you can obviously unmute yourself, and I will turn over the screen to you if you wish to share a document or something. So there's just kind of muting a couple more people here. There we go. Okay, well, thank you. So our fall term runs October 2nd through December 10th, and registration is underway. It started on Monday and it is going well, but we do still have plenty of seats available. So you are not at all too late to the game, and we actually allow and welcome people to register for classes in most cases right up until the last minute. So for those of you who are not familiar with OLLI, I'll go through a little bit of information briefly about the organization overall, and then we're going to share some of our volunteer instructors who are with us today are going to share information about their classes. So OLLI is a membership organization. We have an annual membership fee of $30, and that runs July 1st through June 30th. Members, there are several benefits to being an OLLI member. New friendships, continued learning, volunteer opportunities. There's also some events and things that members get at no additional cost with their membership. So you will have access to our Ask a Geek professional technologist, Michelle, who you'll meet later in today's presentation. We also have a number of special interest groups, including a Twilight Trivia. This is a virtual trivia group that meets monthly, and we do about an hour and a half of just fun trivia. We have two book discussion groups. They both meet on Zoom. A yarn arts group here in the Morgantown area, writers interest group, walking outdoors. There's a walking group in the Kanawha Valley as well. So we have a number of different special interest groups that are available to our members without paying our term enrollment fee, which I will discuss in a moment as well. There we go. Also, special member events that are part of your member benefit without paying the term enrollment fee. These include a walking group with Susan Martino in the Kanawha Valley. Michelle, who is our professional technologist, loves to hike, and she will lead 2 hikes this fall in Cooper's Rock, one at Raven Rock and one You Decide the Trail. Michelle, did you want to say anything additional about these?
Yes, just briefly. For those of you who are not familiar with Cooper's Rock, I will warn you that the Ravens Rock hiking trail is one of the harder ones in Cooper's Rock, simply because it goes way up up the mountains so that you can get a view of the entire Cheat River Gorge. So we're hoping that there will be some fall color for that, but it is a hike that is not for the faint of heart. It's not technical, but it is uphill. So I just wanted everyone to know, for the You Decide the Trail, we can make that as long or as short as you want.
Great. Thank you. And you send an email out to everybody who is registered for that, and you guys decide on the trail beforehand, and so they'll know ahead of time where
Yes.
you're going. So, and the rain date, if there's a bad weather date, it's usually a week later. So,
Yeah, it's usually a week later.
okay, wonderful. We also do field trips. OLLI does a number of field trips. They were on hold for a few years, but we are starting to do them again. We just recently went up to the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh and had a wonderful tour of that museum and a hands-on art experience. And this fall, we have on the schedule a trip to the Huntington Museum of Art to see 2 current exhibits, the Daywood Collection and POW comic drawings. The date of that trip is October 7th. There is a registration deadline of next week. So if you are interested in accompanying us to the Huntington Museum of Art, then please give us a call or register online by the end of the day on the 23rd. We do take a bus. We do field trips, our bus trips. We'll be leaving Morgantown at 8 a.m. and then we'll stop in Charleston, pick anybody up down there and go on. We are also hoping to arrange, I am working on arranging another trip to the University of Pittsburgh Cathedral of Learning for some time in late November or early December. So watch for more information about that. Another member benefit is Zoom training. If you have not previously worked with Zoom, taken classes on Zoom, taught on Zoom, and you are interested in doing so for OLLI or for other reasons, Michelle and I will both help you learn how to use Zoom. So the term enrollment fee, I mentioned that. For all of these things I previously mentioned are either free to our OLLI members or they don't include the term enrollment fee. You may need to pay for a book or pay for food, pay for a trip, but you don't pay the term enrollment fee. The term enrollment fee of $35 will allow you to take as many OLLI classes as you wish during that particular term. So we offer between 35 and 60 classes each term. And for a flat rate of just $35 for that one term, you can take 1 class, you can take 16, you could take 25 classes if you can fit them in your schedule for that one flat fee. And you only pay that $35 during the terms in which you decide to take any of those classes. We do not want money, though, to be a barrier to anybody interested in participating in OLLI. So we do have financial assistance available. If you are interested in participating in OLLI and do not have the funds at the moment to do so, please reach out and we will help you with financial assistance. So of our classes, we have about 40 this coming fall term. They will be held in person, on Zoom, and or in a hybrid fashion. So when you look through the catalog or you look online, you're choosing your classes, be sure to watch to see just how exactly that class is being offered. The picture you're seeing here is of a class, one of our art classes, art history classes. The instructor is in the Kanawha Valley, but the people sitting in the classroom here wanted to come in and see it. So we call this streaming into a classroom. So you'll also see that reference where if you want to take the class, but you don't want to do Zoom at home alone, you can come to an OLLI classroom and we will set it up for you and stream it into our classroom. So our first slide here, yes, Eve is with us. So the first instructor we have with us today, Eve Fox, is going to talk about her class presentation, Working Across Divides for Community Change. Eve, would you like to unmute yourself? Maybe turn your camera on and I will spotlight you for everybody.
Okay, looks like my camera's on. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Shall I share my screen?
Yeah, Michelle, can we give Eve ability to share her screen? We've been able to, okay. I'll stop sharing mine. Okay.
Is it working?
Not yet. Let me get to you again. There we go.
Okay, you're seeing me now?
Yes, yes.
All right. So I'm a recently retired professor of graphic design, and so I'm also an introvert, as were most of my students, and so that's why I have props here to talk to you. Uh, so what you're looking at first here is the main visual for a couple of design conferences that were held in 2011 and 2019. And in both cases, the objective was to bring people together across divides. And that meant from every kind of divide and demographic. It could be political, it could be faith-based, it could be racial, it could be gender, it could be socioeconomic. And we tried to get all of these people represented there and then do things at that conference that would make them feel comfortable and exchange ideas. And we brought together people that were from across the United States doing the work successfully, sharing those ideas, and then we tried them with the people attending the conference. And this was done in my design class, and I won't read all of these things. These were the kinds of things we were hoping to get out of the experience of teaching people how to build better relationships and listening skills and things that helps do the work of community building. And lots of you and me over my 42 years of experience have gotten skills, and we all have different skills, and they're all good to mesh together. And so what I would talk about in this course, which is really just a one-day thing, would be how we went about it, and we can have discussions on that too. You're looking at 2 pages out of a book that were from the Stories of Scott's Run, Preserving the Stories of Scott's Run. That was a culmination of working in my class with the Scott's Run Museum from really that same 12-year period, 2011 to till I retired. And I'm still working with the community, but I don't have the same staff of students to work with me. This community is one that has been doing integration successfully since the 20s. And this is an example of the kind of relationships that have, and this was what I wanted to expose my students to, and what we all need to do to get out of our social circles and see what really makes a relationship work. This is an example of something we did to put up signage that told stories, interpretive signs, and you don't have to be a designer to do this, but it helps if you know one. This was a project where you may have seen it. It's on Spruce Street, or really Wall Street off of Spruce at the side of the Milan Pushkar Healthcare Clinic. And these were some of the folks that were brought together to make the mural. We did it like a giant paint by number, and we invited people from every demographic to do it. This was a project that came together after the South Carolina shooting of a Bible school, and where there was a lot of faith-based xenophobia at the time. And we formed this group, and it's still working. And this is post-retirement. Just because I lost my Army didn't mean I lost my interest in working with the community. And so this Listening for Racial Understanding project was prompted by this image on the left that was an ad in the paper inviting people to participate in a one-on-one conversation that would be recorded, then matched with an artist. And that just opened this past Friday at the Morgantown Library. And at its closing at September 30th, there'll be another after-hours opportunity to see it and hear some of the videos. And this one was amazingly attended. There were like 80 people in the room at one time, and it just shows the interest that we have right now in this kind of topic. And this is another example of something I would show that day, which was another organization we formed as the legislature last session started doing crazy things like telling teachers they couldn't teach certain kinds of history in their classroom, and maybe going down the path of banning books. And so we immediately formed an organization that took this big ad with all of our names signed from 28 different counties saying we're not having this. And we managed to stop those bills from passing, but they'll come back again. And so we're hoping to go to all 50 5 counties and get this word out this time. And all this to say, when I stood up in the legislature as an introvert and shook this full-page ad that was in the Gazette at the legislators saying, we are, most of us, they had called a public session, and they had said, you have to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning with no more notice than that from Morgantown. But I stood up and I said, you know, there's a lot of us geezers retired that have the time and the money to be paying attention to what you're doing, and we're going to make a difference, and you need to listen. And that, you know, I had my proper, I couldn't have done it. But what I want to do in this course is to discuss how we all have skills and collaborations and history and connections, and we can make use of them. So that's my course.
Okay, and let me go back to sharing. Here we go, and share with sound. Okay, so thank you. Yes, Eve's course is Working Across Divides for Community Change, and that will be in person in Morgantown on Tuesday, October 25th at 6 o'clock. Thank you. Jim Held is up next. And Jim is going to be hosting his fall film forum. This is a mini festival of Woody Allen and Mel Brooks. And oh, there you are, Jim. I will spotlight you so you can. Oh, you are already spotlighted, and move on to. There you go. It's all yours.
Well, that looks good. Well, we have put this particular series off for 2.5 years. We had planned to do this about the time the pandemic was hitting us. So yeah, it's a little mini film festival of the work of Mel Brooks and Woody Allen. 4 films for each one. And as you can see here, we've got the best of the best of these 2 artists. Something you may not know, both of these guys were in the writer's room when television was producing during the 50s, the great comic shows, that we look back on. In the room with them was Neil Simon and his brother Danny, and a lot of other people. But these 2, their careers have paralleled one another, and so we'll find out about both of these guys in a little bit of detail. And basically, we want to watch these great films. So producers, and I was telling the film forum this summer about the producers, and I said, oh, what we should do is next summer for our summer musicals, start with the film version of the producers, the musical one. Which we'll probably do. And then we'll move to Annie Hall in October 21st. Blazing Saddles. Some of us feel like Blazing Saddles couldn't be made today because it's got some racial stuff in it that some people might think very offensive. Although I don't think you will, if you haven't seen it, you won't be bothered by that. It's just kind of Mel Brooks is famous for doing whatever he wants, and if somebody's offended by it, oh well. Then in November, we'll look at the Purple Rose of Cairo, which is a really interesting, different look at how movies affect people. And then, November 11th, Young Frankenstein, one of our favorite of all movies, no matter what. Then Midnight in Paris, which is a relatively recent film, and it if you're literary at all, you'll be enchanted because something happens at midnight and magic happens, and our young hero in this one gets somehow transported back through time to the 1920s when Paris and the left bank were hot areas for creativity and etc. And then Mel Brooks' High Anxiety, and which is a hilarious movie that is both a comic take on movies by Hitchcock and and also psychiatry and stuff. And then we will conclude with Blue Jasmine, relatively quiet film, but this film walked away with 2, 3, 4 Oscars, including Best Actress. So, and I think he won another directing award for that film. So this is going to be a series just packed with lots of laughter, and maybe you'll see something in their work that will inspire you in any number of ways. So there we go.
Okay, well, thank you. The film forum is on Friday afternoons. The films start at about 12:45. And they last until they are over. So, and it'll run October 14th through December 9th. And those are in person here in Morgantown.
I would
yes.
like to urge people to come out. You know, I know there are a lot of movie fans out there in our membership, and I would not be too concerned. We've got the room set up so that only 2 people can sit at each table. And so we did not have any problem at all during the summer. So I hope more of you will come out, and be brave, and come out in person.
Okay.
Okay.
So next up is Rabbi Joe Hampel, Old Testament miracles and what they mean.
Hi, so it's a 6-session class. We're gonna talk about a lot of the famous miracles in the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament. We're going to talk about Abraham and Sarah having a child in their old age, the burning bush, the parting of the Red Sea, the talking donkey of Balaam, one of my personal favorites, the Battle of Jericho, David and Goliath, and many other miracles. So there's a lot of different questions you could ask about these biblical miracles. You could ask, did this really happen? You could ask, was it exaggerated in the retelling? You could ask, might it have a scientific explanation? Those are all perfectly valid questions, but I'm not going to try to answer them. The question that interests me is, why does the miracle work as a story? Why do we want to believe it? Bear in mind, unexplained phenomena happen all the time, but they're not miracles unless they dovetail with our theological expectations. Well, for example, when we had a cat, the cat produced enough cat hair for 100 cats. Where did all that extra cat hair come from? It seemed to defy the laws of physics, but it wasn't a miracle because it hasn't got anything to do with God. If a burglar came to assassinate me but tripped over the cat hair and broke his neck, that would be a miracle. But unless it accomplishes God's purposes, it's not a miracle. It's just a quirk of nature. So what interests me about the miracles in our sacred text is, why do they work for us as stories? What is it about our need for God and our need for faith that this story satisfies? So that is what we're going to try to explore a little bit, is what the miracle means to us emotionally, philosophically, theologically.
Wonderful. Thank you. And those classes are on Tuesdays from October 4th through November 15th, 1:45. They will be available on Zoom and in person here in Morgantown. Next up, Sumitra Reddy. Sumitra is going to be teaching ancient trade routes, the Silk Road, and more.
Well, can I share the screen maybe?
Yes. Let me stop sharing. And Michelle has you set up to be able to share your screen.
I always have problem.
There you go. Just click right there. There we go.
Well, I'll only share this title slide. Okay, the class I'll teach this term will take place on October 6th, 13th, and 20th. Thursday at 12:45 to 2:30. The idea about this class came to my mind when I taught lost cities of the world during the summer. And I was looking for lost cities. I came across many of them were located along the ancient trade routes. So that gave me an idea to propose this topic. Well, I am not any ancient history or modern history expert. For modern history, we have Professor Hammersmith. And anytime I talk about anything ancient, Greek always comes up. And there is Joanne Evans, she's Greek, so she helps me out. But anyway, my formal degree is in physics, and later on I did computer science, so I retired a couple of years ago, but I remained as an adjunct faculty in the Department of Computer Science, so I can serve on the committees of some of the students if they want me. Okay, getting back to the topic, I always share some of the photos which or drawings which will be shown in the class. So, so when I talk about ancient trade, so what has been traded, which countries were involved, were they traded along the land routes or waterways, and how they were transported. So based on that, I came up with some pictures. It's camel caravan, were very popular. And when you talk about ancient trade routes, what comes to people's mind is usually the Silk Road. So here are silkworms, originated in China, and it was an interesting story how they kept it as a secret for years, but finally somebody did some sneaky work, and we have silk producing countries now, other than China. So here are some silk fabrics. They traded wool. China traded wool. I mean, China traded silk for wool. Here we have a very ancient artifact, obsidian. They made, ancient people made weapons out of them. So I got some pictures. Other ancient trade routes I found, spices routes. So this is one of them. Amber route, here is a piece of amber. Amber that trees, ancient trees have. Some 40 million years ago, they produced those. So we have them as very expensive commodity. Okay, here is lapis lazuli, came from Afghanistan initially. And they found some lapis jewelry in the Indus Valley cities, which are located in current Pakistan and India. We have some ancient beads. They are quite ancient, several thousand years old. Pictures of the incense route. What was traded those days were frankincense and myrrh. Then Chinese people traded silk for horses, and there are ancient coins. So anyway, as I was learning material for to present in the class, initially I think in the write-up for the class, I had listed Silk Road, the incense route, the spice route, the amber route, the silk route, tin route. Then I was discovering other route like Hanseatic League that happened in 1400 CE. Then I found that in 2019 article, that tin was exported from Britain and Central Europe to make bronze. Then there are trans-Saharan trade routes, and they traded gold for salt. Salt was a very expensive commodity. And so as I'm discovering I will share with you. And I find from my previous experience, when I propose a class, I have some material. And as I am in the process of preparation, I accumulate much more material. So this time I am a little cautious. I thought I'll be done in 2 days, but with so many trade routes to cover, I propose 3 classes. But if I don't need them, I'll finish them early. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. And Sumitra's class, I'm going to turn my video back on here. Sumitra's class will be on Thursdays, October 6th through 20th, 2:35, or I'm sorry, 12:45 in the afternoon. It will be offered on Zoom and streamed into Morgantown. Next up, we have Rosanna Schaefer, Your Immune System. Are you still with us?
Yes, here I am.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, we can.
Great. Yeah, good afternoon. I recently retired, last year from the Department of Microbiology, Immunology, and Cell Biology, where I had a research lab where we studied the immune system and taught immunology to many of the people that came through health sciences, so dental students, medical students, undergrads, and grad students. So immunology has been my professional passion, and I thought it would be fun to bring it to this audience. So I'm going to offer a class. It's going to be 6 one-hour sessions. It's going to be in person in Morgantown. I like to write on the board and have a lot of interactions, so I'm just going to do it in person. And we're going to cover a lot of different topics. We're going to start looking at the good side of the immune system, which is, so if you get a virus or a bacterial infection, how does your immune system even know it's there? How does it recognize it? And then how does it fight it or eliminate it to keep us healthy? And then look sort of the downsides of the immune system, which are things like allergies. I think most of us suffer from an allergy. I, for example, cannot eat shrimp, lobster, or crab. You can feel sorry for me. And I also would swear if I see a picture of poison ivy that I will be covered with it the next day, right? So we'll discuss why our immune system, why we have allergies. And sort of related to that are autoimmune diseases. We all, I think, know people that have arthritis or type 1 diabetes, MS. So again, this is in situations where the immune system is really attacking our cells. So we'll talk about why some people get them, what's really happening, and what we understand about autoimmune disease. And of course, we'll also discuss vaccines, right? Very topical the last few years. So what's really in that needle that they're sticking into your arm? And what does your body see? What does your immune system see from vaccines? And really, what is the goal of that? And what happens so that your immune system later on, when you see that same disease, can protect you from that? And vaccines are really one of the major accomplishments of immunology over the last several decades. So we're going to talk about all these different things, and I'm going to do it really in lay terms. So don't feel like you have to have a science background at all. We're going to discuss it so everybody can understand it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, immunology is really my passion, and I think we'll have a good time. So I hope to see some of you there. So thank you.
Thank you. And this class is going to be on Thursdays, October 13th through November 17th at 10 a.m. Here in Morgantown. Just before moving on, I will say, we have a number of classes in person in the Kanawha Valley as well. And in fact, some are streamed into the Kanawha Valley, but we also have some instructors who are there, and we'll be doing some classes live, and we'll be hearing some more about that later. But next up actually is one of our instructors in the Kanawha Valley, Rabbi Joe Blair, who is going to do part 2 of his poetry class that was such a hit last spring.
Thank you. Yes, we will continue with poetry. Despite what I wrote, what we'll be doing is focusing primarily, in fact, entirely on poetry by Yehuda Amichai, rather than a selection of poets. But the poems that we'll be dealing with will have broad reach. They all somehow touch on both biblical themes and things that are current. So just as a smattering of titles, the pieces that I sort of selected that we'll try to do in the 2 sessions we have on the 3rd and 17th of November are God Full of Compassion, miracles. So at least I'm trying to tie back to Rabbi Joe's course as well. I want to die in my own bed. If I forget thee, Jerusalem, love of Jerusalem, my father, an Arab shepherd is searching for his goat on Mount Zion. Jews in the land of Israel, let the memorial hill remember. Tourists, a Jewish cemetery in Germany, the diameter of the bomb. A man doesn't have time in his life. Wild peace, a pity we were such a good invention. I wasn't one of the 6 million, and what is my lifespan? That's just the titles of what I selected. We probably won't get through all of those, but that just means we can do this again at a later date. So I'm looking forward to having you join me and enjoy some of these really marvelous and amazingly well-written poems.
Thank you. Yeah, we are definitely looking forward to these. A smattering or a pick a peck of poetries will be on Thursdays from 11:30 to 1, November 3rd and 17th. And it's going to be on Zoom, but we will, for those of you who do not do Zoom or want to be in a classroom, we will be streaming it both into classrooms, both in the Canal Valley and in Morgantown. So next up is this El Greco. Melora Can is our art history instructor, and we have some videos from her, but I think I'm going to hold off on showing the videos until the end so we can let our instructors who are with us today talk. But I did want to let everybody know this is one of the classes that I was talking about actually is in person in the Canal Valley. Mel is teaching 4 art classes for us this fall. This is a change from what's in the printed catalog. So if you have a copy of the printed catalog, it states that Zoom and in-person in the Canal Valley are all on Mondays. It's going to be Zoom only in the Canal Valley on Mondays now. The new in-person date is the Friday following for each one of her classes. So keep an eye out for that. And if we have time at the end of this, I'll go back and show you these videos. But this is the first of her 4 classes.
Great.
And next up then is Judy Warner, and Judy is going to talk about her Lap Dulcimer class. I thought I saw Judy on here.
I'm trying to unmute.
Okay, you're unmuted, and I have your slides. So
And you have, okay, so if you will put the slide up, because that keeps me focused so I don't ramble. But the class that I'm teaching is the Lap Dulcimer class, and we have done this for quite a while, every term. And so we have some people in the class that are total beginners and some who have taken the class previously, but we try and structure the class accordingly so everybody gets challenged. You do not need to have your own dulcimer. We have some dulcimers that are available for you to borrow while you're in the class. But you need to let us know. If you contact the OLLI office, I can help you. One of the hardest things about doing this on Zoom is getting it tuned and keeping it tuned as you would with any musical instrument. But I can work with you ahead of time and arrange to meet you somewhere. But if you have your own dulcimer, one of the things that we'll find out is that there can be any number of strings, 3, 4, 5, 6 strings on a dulcimer, and those strings can be tuned to different notes. And we, in the class that I'm doing and here in North Central West Virginia, the common tuning is D, A, A. And I'm not going to get into the explanation, but if you don't know how to tune the strings, contact me. You can contact me through the OLLI office, and we will go from there. In the class, we're going to learn about the parts of the dulcimer. We're going to learn about the history of the dulcimer. One of the exciting things to me is the Appalachian basis of the lap dulcimer. Many of our instruments come from Europe, but the Appalachian lap dulcimer, as it's referred to, was developed here in the Appalachian area. We're going to look at each week different kinds of songs. I happen to be interested in the history of some of the songs, so I usually talk about some of the background of some of the songs, and we will look at some of the famous popular songs that lots and lots of dulcimer players. But the main thing we do is to have fun with our music. That to me is the most important thing. You're not going to put the effort into learning the dulcimer if you're not enjoying it and having fun. And I have fun with the dulcimer. The types of songs, each term I try and look at new and different songs. We always start out with sing-along songs, things that you can sing. You do not have to be a choir member, a good singer. I am not, but I try the best I can, and we sing the songs before we play it so we know what it's going to sound like on our dulcimer. So we're going to start with some of the old ones. We're going to look at some West Virginia songs, and we can look at some of the older songs. We can look at country roads. We have worked on tabbing it out, and it was not the easiest one, but we're going to learn how you can be somebody who can play country roads on your dulcimer. And then as it gets time closer to Thanksgiving, there are lots of Thanksgiving songs, and probably the most popular one that many people will already know is Over the River and Through the Woods, that originally was started out as a Christmas song, but has gradually come to be known more as a Thanksgiving song. So we try and do it with a variety each week. I always emphasize you do not need to have a musical background. You do not need to know how to read music. It is an easy instrument to play. If you think Eve was talking about paint by numbers, we play music by numbers. And so on your instrument, you can number the frets from 0 to 10. You do need to know how to recognize the numbers from 0 to 10, but the music will just have the numbers from 0 to 10. So I hope you will want to try and come to play this musical instrument that's a part of our Appalachian heritage. But the main thing is, I think we will have fun learning the songs, singing the songs. Music should be a fun thing to do. To me, it's relaxing. But I hope you'll want to come and try a new instrument. You don't have to have it. You can borrow an instrument. I have a variety of different shapes, sizes, and while you are in the class, there are instruments to borrow. So
Wonderful.
I hope to see you in the class.
Thank you, Judy. Lap Dulcimer is on Monday mornings at 10 a.m. It is on Zoom, and it is in person here in Morgantown. So if you are in the Kanawha Valley, you can participate via Zoom. And I do actually, somebody called in a lead today to maybe find somebody to teach dulcimer for us in the Kanawha Valley in person. So I'll be looking at that possibility for a future term. But thank you, Judy. Next up is another class that Melora Can is going to do. Again, just a change in the in-person date in the Kanawha Valley is now on Friday, October 28th. And I do have a short video, which we will look at the end, or we will put up on our YouTube channel, and you can access those afterwards. I want to get to the people who are with us today. Mel works during the week still, so she's currently at work. Next up, Ed Johnson, who is here with me actually at the OLLI office, is going to talk about his class, An Introduction to Pixar Studios.
Well, hello, everyone. And many of you know that I was a cast member at Walt Disney World for a few years. And so I have been keeping up, of course, with their movies. And now Pixar, of course, is part of the Walt Disney Company. But we're going to go back to the beginning. At the beginning, this was an outgrowth of, part of the DNA would be the Star Wars movies. And we'll be discussing how from that it moved into computer animation as a separate company from Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's operation. And that they have put out some tremendous movies, starting with Toy Story, the most recent one that came out just in the last few months, called Turning Red. And there's some themes that go through most all of their movies. And so we're going to look at a number of them. We're going to look at many of their Academy Award-winning shorts, their little 6 to 8 to 10-minute movies as well. And we're going to maybe shed a little tear once in a while and have a little giggle as well. So it's, well, as everybody says, it's going to be fun. But we'll be looking forward to doing this with you, both in the Kanawha Valley in person and then up here in Morgantown, where we'll also be Zooming it from. Okay.
Thank you, Ed. For the Kanawha Valley folks, the in-person in the Kanawha Valley, you'll see that seems like a really long day. It is a little long, but it will be broken into 2 sessions. There will be a lunch break kind of in the middle there. So you'll do like a 10 to 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then you'll have a lunch break. So really looking forward to this class. Thank you. Up next, the third of Melora Can's classes, from Duchamp to Andy Warhol. Again, a new date for the in-person ones. If you went to the Warhol Museum with us last week, I think this could be a really interesting class too. We're going to jump ahead here because we do have several people yet. Kenton Colvin Kenton wasn't sure if he would be able to make it today, and I don't think he did. So just real quickly, Kenton is doing a couple classes for us. One is A Semi-Truck Driver's Life. That's on Thursdays, November 10th and 17th at 12:45. It'll be Zoom and in person in Morgantown. Next up, Jack Hammersmith. Jack, would you like to talk about your class?
Thank you. Let me start with a word of clarification, because in the printed catalog, I mentioned 2 classes, but there are 3 dates given. It is 3 classes. So realize that it begins October 19th and goes through the 23rd and November the 2nd. It's always a little bit difficult to estimate whether enough material is there for 3 classes or 2 classes or 4 classes, whatever. So upstairs at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, of course, that is another look at presidents and actually first ladies in this instance. I, of course, have already done courses on first ladies, on presidents' mothers, presidents as fathers, and I thought I was about done with perspectives on the presidency, at least for a while. And then I found a book, Kate Brower's The Residents, which is about the permanent staff, almost 200 now, that involve cooks and carpenters and valets and doormen and the kind of people who see presidents and first ladies firsthand, who know them best, but who, if they want to keep their jobs, or if they're true to the traditions of the White House, are very discreet and don't share a whole lot. So it's not always easy to know what's going on, but Kate Brower has done a good job, I think. The first of our 3 classes will be one in which we look at some of the earlier presidents, particularly through the eyes of a man named Ike Hoover, who was the chief usher at the White House. Usher is basically the manager in charge, has nothing to do with movie ushers or what you might think that word involves. And of course, there you had a staff that often, particularly for the first 15 presidents, 9 of whom were Southern slave owners, you had staff that they brought with them and weren't getting paid anything because they were slaves. Not all of them, but a good part of many staffs certainly were. On classes 2 and 3, we'll talk about the 20th century, and we'll look at questions like what president said, it's okay to serve us leftovers. Give us tomorrow night what we didn't finish tonight. What president said, these flower arrangements are just too expensive. Go out to Rock Creek Park and cut some flowers there. By the way, one of the White House staff got arrested doing that. That's another story. Which president was most beloved by the staff, hands down? Which president was feared and not liked by the staff at all? Which first lady also had that reputation? And which first lady was known to throw a lamp at the president? I'm going to leave all of these open-ended as teasers for the course. I'll look forward to having you with me if you can. And that is, again, 3 classes, October 19th, 23rd, and November 2nd, 10 o'clock in the morning. Those are on Wednesdays. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the second with Kent and Colvin, Bible Mysteries, Secrets, and Intrigues on Wednesday morning, November 9th. And then he is also going to be offering the model railroading experience here again in Morgantown on Saturday, December 3rd. We encourage you to bring your grandkids, bring your adult kids. This is a chance to bring friends or family that enjoy model railroading as well. And Melora's 4th class, the new date for the in-person and the video that we will have at the end or on our YouTube space. So next up, who we actually have the instructor with us today is Stan Cohen and Judy Cohen are going to be doing Eat Right, Eat Well, Part 3 of Rediscovering the Lost Art of Cooking. This will be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, October 18th through the 27th from 3 to 4:45. We have changed this. It will now be Zoom only. But Stan, if you want to talk about your class.
Okay, well, I can't promise you any miracles, as Rabbi Joe has, but we are going to look into this series. This is now part 3, called Rediscovering the Lost Art of Cooking. And the course looks at, of course, cooking. It looks at recipes. It looks at pantry stables, etc. We also show videos. That's why we have 4 classes. We're going to have 7 videos that will be taken from the CIA series. The chef is Bill Brawa, who is excellent, and we all want his cooking skills, but he's had about 30 years to hone his. That's why he's so accomplished. So in terms of videos, we're going to look at stocks and broths, sauces, salads, pasta, fresh and dry, seafood, and looking at, of course, how we get seafood and, of course, how we cook seafood. And finally, putting all this together in a video called Crafting the Meal. I will also talk about food samples. Since we are Zoom, you'll have to do these at your home and taste them yourselves. We're going to be looking at Manhattan fish chowder. We're going to look at pasta, but this one is with feta and greens, very simple to make, and a new twist on a Spanish omelet with some other ingredients in it to bulk it up a little. And for the sweet tooth, no cookies, but we're having rice pudding, we're going to have pumpkin pie, and we're going to have tapioca pudding rather. And these are pretty simple and, of course, healthy, as I promise you. Now, what I do is between the videos, each day I'll usually have a main topic, and the topics have varied over the last 10 editions of this class. This year, we're going to do, first of all, how you can use food leftovers and makeovers, which is always important. Another topic is going to be, as we age, your food requirements, your diet requirements change, and we'll talk about how and why. The other thing is you need to arm your kitchen, right? When you go in your kitchen, you have to have devices and tools that you use to make your cooking efficient and quick. And one device, for example, I'll talk about is green bags, because one of the other topics is going to be food labels and food safety. Because again, much food does spoil, and we'll talk about what you can keep, when you can eat it, and of course, what those dates on those cans mean. And the other topic I'll talk about, which is again part of the sort of the eat right, eat well philosophy, is how do you take a traditional recipe and detox it, eliminate some of the ingredients in it that maybe are not the best for your own welfare, and how to still make them as tasty as possible. And of course, as you all know, if you had any of my classes, what's most important is your input into the class, your experiences, what you like to cook, tips you've done in your own kitchen that we can share with the entire group. And we will be on Zoom only. I'm hoping we can get back into live classroom in the very, very near future. But I'm going to finish this class in the Zoom mode. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Stan. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, but we do have a couple other instructors with us that I don't have slides for. I'm just going to ask them to share. Regine Seelan. Regine, are you still on here? Regine, still here?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here.
there. Okay, okay.
You ready?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all yours.
Okay, thanks. Just let me.
Oh, you muted yourself.
How's that?
There you go.
Great. Good afternoon. I'll be teaching a class on personal and family history writing projects. It'll be a 3-session class. So it's about taking some of that. So many people have thought about writing their family history, writing their own history, trying to do a memoir. Or if you haven't thought of it yourself, you've probably had people tell you they're thinking about doing it. So please do spread the word. But we'll be talking these kinds of projects. Some folks are wanting to do it for their grandchildren. They're doing it just because they want to share it with other family members. Lots and lots of reasons for doing it. We'll talk about some of the approaches, and mostly focusing on doing your writing as an autobiography, or doing it as a collection of stories, or a memoir where you're focusing on something specific. For example, a World War II veteran story, or perhaps a recovery story from cancer or some sort of illness, and so forth. So it's typically a small class and a lot of discussion. Lots of questions and answers. I like to hear what people have been working on or thinking about working on, and figuring out how to motivate people to take the next step and stick with it and get something done, whether that's a book or a completed manuscript or a notebook of stories. Some of the specific topics are the looking at the scope and the audience, who you're writing for, how to best organize, how to perhaps print your project or have it printed and bound, where you're getting your information, if you have family members or friends who are helping you, or you're going to do a lot of library research, or just it's something where you're writing down your memories and not working with anyone else or doing research. So in the past, I've done this as a 2-session class, and based on feedback from past participants, have expanded it to a 3rd session. And the idea there is that in that session, I could perhaps look at some writing people have done or help you get organized. And we'll see, that to be determined. But for those who are interested, we'll figure out a good use of time for that 3rd session. So I look forward to perhaps having some of you in my class. Thank you.
Thank you. And since I don't have a slide up here for you to read, I'll just reiterate. This is personal and family history writing projects, and it is going to be on Wednesdays, October 12th through the 26th at 12:45, and it is in person here in Morgantown. Next up, we have Jem Wrench. Jem, are you still with us? I think Michelle's going to spotlight you. There, wonderful.
Can I share a few slides?
Yes. Michelle is probably giving you that ability right now. So.
Okay. So I gotta go share slide. Okay, I have two presentations. The first one is a look at the early writings of a fella who went by the pen name of Port Crayon. His actual name was David Hunter Strother. Martinsburg guy, quite famous in the 1850s. He wrote for Harper's and was probably, during that time period, their leading writer. So he's a guy that, well, there's a mountain named for him in West Virginia, but not a lot else is known for him. He became famous for this article that he wrote in 1853 in Harper's. Harper's was brand new then, and they kind of pioneered this wood engraving like you see here. So that let people not only have a good story to read about, but drawings to look at. So that was his big edge. He was both a good essayist and a great drawer. So he was also known in 1858, he and a large group of people took a ride on the new B&O from Baltimore to Wheeling. And he wrote about that journey and did some great drawings of that too. So that's pretty interesting. And then finally, he was there for John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry. And in this, he wasn't an essayist, he was a reporter. He was there. He wasn't there when the raid started, but he got there in time to see Robert E. Lee's Marines break down the door. He was there for the trial. And finally, he was there for the hanging. So I call Port Crayon West Virginia's first publicist because he later wrote a great deal about West Virginia and especially about the mountains of West Virginia. So the second one, and I'm really interested in this one. I got interested because I've heard about this thing called the West Virginia Maneuver Area. So during World War II, the Army, they didn't buy, but they kind of took over about an area of about 2 million acres in these counties. They were preparing for the invasion of Italy. And they knew they had to have soldiers who could operate in mountainous terrain. And so they set up this West Virginia maneuver area. They taught rock climbing, they taught pack mule training, they taught scaling cliffs and rope bridges across rivers. They had an area in Dolly Sods, of course, where they had artillery training. In Canaan Valley, they had small arms training. Anyway, just a number of fronts and over 100,000 soldiers trained in a one-year period in West Virginia. And I didn't know anything about this until I happened to be at Seneca Rocks. And there at the Visitor Center, they have a film about it. So it's really fascinating. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at Morgantown, where, of course, they had the Ordnance Works that started out making ammonia for TNT and then got involved in the Manhattan Project. So that's pretty interesting. Point Pleasant had a TNT factory. They had a company that constructed about 200 ocean-going vessels that saw duty all over the Atlantic and the Pacific. And then they had a Sylvania plant that made parts for a special fuse that detonated a weapon not when it hit it, but when it got close. And that was really groundbreaking. And just some other things. Something that's really interesting, which people may know about, is that the Greenbrier was host to German, Italian, and Japanese diplomats for about 8 months in 1841. And then it was host to about 1,000 prisoners of war. And then finally, it was bought by the army and turned into a hospital, and treated about 125,000 soldiers. So all of these things were more or less new to me, and it just got me thinking about we study the war, and there's some wonderful things written, and we value the sacrifice of the soldiers. Much less appreciated is the contribution of the people who stayed here. So through these presentations, I just like to give you a taste of that. And maybe you'll come away like I did, very much impressed with the sacrifices of the people who stayed home. So the Port Crayon one is just a single session. I don't have the dates in front of me, but the West Virginia and World War II is 3 sessions. So I hope you all are interested in this, and come take a look.
Thank you, Jim. I can actually share that. The early writings of David Hunter Strother, that is on Thursday, November 3rd at 12:45, and it's on Zoom and in person here in Morgantown and streaming into the Kanawha Valley. And then the World War II, West Virginia World War II, Life and Work on the Home Front, Wednesdays, October 12th through the 26th at 12:45, and that's on Zoom and live here in Morgantown. So thank you so much for sharing those. I'm going to go back to my slides here, and we've got a couple more things to go through, and then we'll open it up for questions. Before I move on, are there any other instructors with us today that I did not see who would like to share about your classes? Kind of was trying to keep an eye on the list here. I don't think there is. Okay. So I do want to share that OLLI is very involved in our community as well. We routinely partner with other nonprofit organizations to provide educational opportunities for our members and friends and other interested community members. Partners in the past have included the Community Coalition for Social Justice, the City of Morgantown, Main Street Morgantown, WVU Retirees, the WVU Committee of Retired Faculty, the Shack Neighborhood House, Festival. We are working on a possible partnership, hopefully with the Kanawha Valley Public Library. So we like to be out there in the community as well and routinely do community events. So community events, our fall community programming, these are opportunities that are free and available to everybody in the community. You do not have to be an OLLI member. You do not have to be 50 plus. We do ask that you register in advance because some of them are on Zoom, so you'll need to get the Zoom link. But that includes our weekly Saturday morning Tai Chi classes at the Shack Neighborhood House here in Morgantown. If you are interested in learning Tai Chi, you can sign up on our website or give us a call. We are also hosting a presentation by the WVU Speech, Language, and Hearing Clinic on October 12th. This is going to be on Zoom and in person here in Morgantown. Again, free and open to the public. And a History Alive presentation on Harriet Tubman, and that is co-sponsored with the WVU Committee of Retired Faculty, and that is going to be on December 7th on Zoom. As a couple people have alluded to and mentioned, we are still dealing with COVID. Not sure if it's ever really going to go completely away. But here's just a little bit of information about how we are handling things. We are no longer requiring masks in the classrooms. However, we are still encouraging and sometimes even outright recommending masks in the classroom. We want people to feel comfortable. If you want to and feel the need to wear a mask in the classroom, that is fine. I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to, if you are not feeling well, then maybe just join us on Zoom that day, or ask if there's a recording of the class that you can watch at a later date. We don't want anybody to feel like they can't come because they can't wear a mask, or because they would be shamed for wearing a mask. And we are still limiting in-person seating. So it is important it's always been important to register for a class that you want to come to. It's really important now because we are still limiting in-person seating, and therefore some of our classes do have wait lists. So if you want to come to a class, especially in person, make sure that you let us know. We get you registered for it, and so we can make sure we have a seat for you. By the same token, if you are not able to make an in-person class that you are registered for, please let us know that as soon as possible too, so that we can move down the wait list to the next person and let them in. So if you are not on our Friday email bulletin list, if you do not get our Friday e-bulletins at noon every week, you can stay up to date on the latest OLLI news by visiting our website and clicking on the gold news button. That shows you everything that we send out in the Friday bulletin every week. You can also subscribe to the bulletin there. I also encourage you to check out the catalog on the website, because a few of our instructors alluded to there are changes in the catalog already. I talked about how Melora Can's classes are on different days now. It seems like every term now, as soon as the catalog goes to the printer, then something changes and we have to move a class, or we cancel a class, or we add something. So we try to keep the online one up to date. So please check out the online catalog. Registration is underway. You can call in registration. Our phone number is 304-293-1793, or you can register online yourself. You can also come to the office here in Morgantown to register in person. Are there any questions for any of our instructors or about the program? I'm going to stop sharing here. And I am happy to let everybody know, everybody in the Morgantown area know that the New Horizons Band is back. We do have 2 new directors for the New Horizons Band, and they're going to start meeting again on Monday afternoons. We have several in-person classes in the Kanawha Valley. Dr. Robert Harrison and Clint Shrewsbury are going to do a class on the spirituality of eating, and that's going to be a live in-person class in the Kanawha Valley. Stephen Holsclaw, he is a very popular instructor in the Kanawha Valley. He's going to be doing 2 classes as well on fossils. And our program assistant down there, Susan Martino, has arranged for a tour of the J.Q. Dickinson Salt Works. That'll be on Thursday, October 18th. So if you're interested in doing that. Also, just to let you all know that we are one organization, even though we have a program in Charleston area and one here in Morgantown. We are all one organization. And therefore, if you are in the Morgantown area, but you really want to go on this tour of the salt works, or you want to go partake in one of the fossil classes down in the Kanawha Valley, you just have to call the office and we will sign you up for that, and you can drive down there and do that, and vice versa. If you're in the Kanawha Valley and you think, well, I'll come up on a Thursday and go to a class up here in Morgantown and then go back to Charleston on Saturday or something, absolutely give us a call and we will get you into that class. You can take classes in both areas. You just got to drive down there. So if you're going to do it in person. So any questions? Anything anybody wants to add? Wonderful. Well, I will put up the videos from Melora Can's classes, the 4 videos. I will put those up on our YouTube page. So if you go to OLLI at WVU on our YouTube public page, they will be up tomorrow morning, and you can watch the videos of her class class announcements. It's not the classes themselves, it's videos of the class announcements. And I actually should say, we do record some of our classes. So if you miss a class, if you can't attend one and it's been held on Zoom, we may have recorded it. And if that is the case, then if you are a current member and you have paid your term enrollment fee for that term, then you can call the office and we will give you the link to the video so you can watch it at a later date. They are generally only available during the term that the class was held, and you do have to be a current member who has paid your dues for that term. But it is another benefit to being an OLLI member now, that we have the ability to have these classes for you in case something came up and you couldn't make it. So, Judy, did you want to add something?
I was just curious about the New Horizon Band.
Yes.
In the catalog, it said that he was going to be using the Essential Methods book.
Yes.
Do you know which level? Because earlier, we've gone through level 1, level 2, level 3. Yeah. Is he going to go back to level 1?
I think the intention is to discuss that at the first meeting or first couple meetings to find out where everyone is, because some people who were with the band may have kept up with their practice over the last 3 years, and others may not have touched their instruments at all in the last 3 years, and we may need to start over. So I think we do have 2 instructors now, so they're going to be dividing up the work a little bit, and they will discuss that when. So I would bring what you have. I wouldn't worry about buying something new right now.
The question is, do I want to register if they're going to go and start all the way back at the beginning?
Sure.
Can I come to that first meeting just to find out what he's going to?
Yes.
Are they both he's?
Yes. Yes.
I keep saying he.
No, that it is. It is 2 young men from the School of Music, and yes, you can come. We had a couple sessions already but you can do it at the first session in early October,
and then make a decision.
Yes,
because I think I can still find all 3 books. I think I've kept them all together, but
yes.
I'm not sure what I want to do.
Sure, I understand. Any other questions? All right,
Jay, with the Let's Do lunch. I mean,
yes.
I've registered, so. Will a notice go out that morning or something reminding us, or we just put it on the calendar?
Yeah, I'll make a note to make sure that we send you a reminder. But we are having the first session of Let's Do Lunch social group on the 22nd at 11:30 here at the mall. In fact, I'm ordering the lunch tomorrow. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone, and I hope that I will see you in class. So. Have a great day. Thank you.